Welcome to Plan 9 Crunch and Merry Christmas. I'm Doug Gibson, and we are doing a read of the week, and we're going into spooky Christmas stories again. This wonderful anthology is called Ghost Stories for Christmas Volume 2, edited by our friend Andi Brooks, who also edited Ghost Stories for Christmas Volume 1. Andy also co-wrote Vampire Over London, Bela Lugosi in Britain with Frank Dell'Istrito. And Andy has also written Japanese ghost stories, and he also did Nursery Crimes, which is a book of poems that are illustrated. And Aurelie Grasser, and I probably butchered her name, also is involved. But anyways, let's get in the Christmas spirit. I love a good Christmas ghost story. And I have spent, boy, I start Christmas early. I've spent like a week just reading ghost stories in both these books. And I chose one today. We're going to read a snippet of. It is called A Ghost Child by Bernard Capes. Now, Bernard Capes was from England. He was born in 1854 and died in 1918. A Ghost Child, which Andy went through and found and put in this book, was originally published in an anthology from Capes called Loaves and Fishes. And that same year, in 1906, it was published in Pall Mall magazine. These are treasures. These early 20th century and 19th century stories. Because I liked it. When I read them, I think to myself, these are people that didn't have television, they didn't have radio, they didn't have the internet, and they had to use their imagination. A Ghost Child. Let's go to it right now. Okay, we're going to start right here. Tryphena was not only an orphan, but an heiress. Her considerable estate was administered by her guardian, Jason's father, a widower, who was possessed of this single adored child. The fruits of parental infatuation had come early to ripen on the seedling. The boy was self-willed and perverse, the more so as he was naturally of a hot-hearted disposition. Violence and remorse would sway him in alternate moods and be made, each in its turn, a self-indulgence. He took a delight in crossing his father's wishes, and no less than atoning for his gracelessness with moving demonstrations of affection. Foremost of the old man's most cherished project was, very naturally, a union between the two young people. He planned, maneuvered, spoke for it with all his heart of love and eloquence. And indeed it seemed at last as if his hopes were decrowned. Jason, returning from a lengthy voyage, for his enterprising spirit had decided early for the sea, and he was a naval officer, saw and was struck amazed before the transformed vision of his old child playfellow. She was an open flower, whom he had left a green bud, a thing so rare and flawless that it seemed a sacrilege for earthly passions to converse of her. Familiarity, however, and some sense of reciprocal attraction quickly dethroned that Eucharist. Tryphena could blush, could thrill, could solicit in the sweet ways of innocent womanhood. She loved him dearly, wholly it was plain, had found the realization of her old formless dreams in this wondrous birth of a desire for one in whose new and passionate eyes she had known herself reflected hitherto only for the most patronized of small gossips. And for her part, fearless as nature, she made no secret of her love. She was absorbed and a captive to Jason from that moment forever. He responded. What man, however perverse, could have resisted on first appeal the attraction of such beauty? The flower of a radiant soul. The two were betrothed. The old man's cup of happiness was brimmed. Then came clouds and a cold wind, chilling the garden of Hesperus. Jason was always one of those who, possessing classic noses, will cut them off on easy provocation despite their faces. He was so proudly independent to himself that he resented the least assumption of proprietorship in him on the part of other people, even of those who had the best claim to his love and submission. This pride was an obsession. It stultified the real good in him, which was considerable. Apart from it, he was a good, warm-tempered fellow, hasty but affectionate. Under its dominion, he would have broken his own heart on an imaginary grievance. He found what it is to be supposed in the privileges assumed by love, in his exacting claims upon him, perhaps in its little unreasoning jealousies. He distorted these into an implied conceit of authority over him on the part of an heiress who was condescending to his meaner fortunes. The suggestion was quite base and without warrant, but pride has no balance. No doubt, moreover, the rather childish self-depreciations of the old man, his father, in his attitude toward a match he had so fondly desired, helped to aggravate this feeling. The upshot was that within a few months of the date which he was to make his union with Tryphena eternal, Jason broke away from a restraint which his pride pictured to him as intolerable, and went on a yachting exhibition with a friend. Then at once, and with characteristic violence, came the reaction. He wrote impetuously, frenziedly, from a distant port, claiming himself Tryphena's and Tryphena his forever and forever. They were a man and wife before God. He had behaved like an insensate brute, and he was at that moment starting to speed to her side to beg her forgiveness and the return of her love. He had no need to play the suitor afresh. He had never doubted or questioned their mutual bondage, and would have doubted a maid for his sake. Something of sweet exultation only seemed to quicken and leap in her body, that her faith in her dear love was vindicated. But the joy came near to upset the reason of the old man, already tottering to its dotage, and what followed destroyed it utterly. The yacht, flying home, was lost at sea, and Jason was drowned. This is a wonderful story, A Ghost Child. And I have only given you part of it. I don't give you the main part of it. I don't give you the supernatural of it, but it's a wonderful story, and the prose is so great in this story. That's what attracted it to me. I urge you to spend time reading the older Christmas stories. I mean, there's more than A Christmas Carol, which is a wonderful story too. We'll have links to both these ghost stories for Christmas books, and you'll have the opportunity to enjoy lots and lots of good Christmas reading as you get there. I'm Doug Gibson, and we're Plan 9 Crunch. Plan9crunch.com is our blog. Plan 9 Crunch is our YouTube page. Give us a subscribe. And we're Plan 9 Crunch podcast and blog at Facebook, and we're on TikTok. And thank you very much, and that's a wrap.